Every year you set yourself up to fail only to confirm to yourself every year that you can't do stuff, when it's just not true. You're just coming at it with the wrong information. That old proverb, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again expecting a different result. It's not a plan, it's not a strategy. If willpower doesn't work, then what does? 3 things. 1, environment design. 2, identity alignment. 3, small repeatable systems. Real change happens when the environment supports the behavior reinforces identity, and the system runs even on bad days. It's not dependent on you being in a good mood, well fed and really happy. I want you to leave with a clear understanding of why willpower keeps failing you, what actually drives sustainable change, and one simple actionable strategy that you can apply to your new year starting immediately. Hello and welcome to the first Johnny Lawrence podcast of 2026. Happy New Year. I hope you all had a wonderful festive season, New Year, all of those things. Mine was really special. My brother and his fiance had twins, and that is just the most exciting and wonderful news. Holding them, spending time with them. It's just been, as you can probably tell by the big smile on my face, just been the most fabulous Christmas gift. So yeah, that was really, really special. Gotta be grateful for stuff like that. But today we're going to be talking about something that is probably a bit uncomfortable for most people because it's lingering in the back of their mind. You're probably getting asked the question everywhere you meet up over Christmas. So, got any New Year's resolutions? So let me start with something uncomfortable, but hopefully freeing. Let's say that. If you've failed New Year's resolutions before, it's not because you're lazy, weak, or broken. It's because you were taught to use the wrong tools. Every January, millions of people tell themselves some version of this. This year, I'm going to be more disciplined. I just need more willpower. I'll push harder this year. And for a few weeks, it works. You think, wow, this is easy. Should have done this ages ago. Don't know why I put this off for such a long time. Then life shows up. Stress shows up. Old patterns show up. And suddenly the motivation disappears. And we do the worst thing possible. We turn it inwards and we say, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Why can't I do this? Why is this so hard? Why can everyone else seem to do this, but I can't? The frustration, the emotions. Truth is, nothing's wrong with you. The problem is that willpower is not a strategy you can use for long-term change. Today, I want to break that belief apart, not to let you off the hook, just to make that clear. I'm not saying, hey man, don't worry about having goals and New Year's resolutions, forget all that. It's not to let you off the hook, but it's to give you a way forward that actually works. This episode is inspired by Benjamin Hardy's book, Willpower Doesn't Work, which I'm holding up for those watching. Along with decades of psychology research and behavioral research, habits, identity and environments, all of that, it's just my bag, warms my heart. All of that is going into this today because this is a massive thing, man. This is a massive thing. Every year you set yourself up to fail only to confirm to yourself every year that you can't do stuff, when it's just not true. You're just coming at it with the wrong information. What do they say? I think it's that old proverb, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again expecting a different result. It's not a plan, it's not a strategy, although we all do it. I've done it. One of the big reasons for this episode is because over the course of the time I've been doing this podcast, you would have heard me mention my book. And it's been a long story. And one day when the book is out, I will tell you about all of the things that happened to get me to the point when the book comes out. But it's been a roller coaster ride of ego, death, and all sorts of things. But by the end of this episode, I want you to leave with a clear understanding of why willpower keeps failing you, what actually drives sustainable change, and one simple, actionable strategy that you can apply to your new year starting immediately. I suppose the big question is why we're obsessed with willpower. And we may not say willpower. We're just going to decide that we're doing something and we're just going to hope that it works. And we're just going to keep trying. And then when it goes wrong, we have no plan other than to call ourselves a failure. I mean, that's literally what we do. Because let's talk about why willpower became the hero of self-improvement in the first place. Culturally, we love the idea of the strong individual, the person who just decides, the person who grinds, the person who's powers through pain. It's kind of clean, it's heroic, and it puts all the responsibility on the individual, which makes us feel like we're in control, right? even though we've set ourselves up for failure. Interesting. But psychology tells a very different story. Willpower is a finite cognitive resource. This is shown clearly in the early research on ego depletion, where participants who used self-control in one task performed worse in subsequent tasks requiring discipline. Now, the exact mechanism for this, of ego depletion, has been debated over years, but the core insight remains solid. Get a pen. Self-control is effortful, fragile, and highly sensitive to context. So important. Context. When you're tired, when you're stressed, when your emotions are high, when your environment is noisy, chaotic, or tempting, your willpower drops. Not because you're weak, but because you are a human being. And we forget this. We think we could just flick a switch and become a robot. Benjamin Hardy puts it bluntly in his book. If success requires willpower, then you're already in trouble, because willpower assumes you'll always be clear-headed, motivated, emotionally regulated, and in control of your impulses. That's not real life. I think we all know that. But we observe others and we go, okay, it must be that. And social media doesn't help because they only give us one side of the story. Everyone wants to look like the hero, right? But that's a fantasy version of the you that only exists on January the 1st. Because come January the 2nd, the doubt starts creeping in. It might not be observable at that stage. But you're already starting to think, really? No beer all month? Can I do that? It's so-and-so's birthday. And no cake or no chocolate. Or I'm going to exercise every day, or whatever it is that comes into your mind. So it's important to acknowledge why willpower fails at the moment you need it most. That's what it feels like anyway. Because here's the cruel irony of willpower. You don't need it when things are going well. You need it when you're exhausted, when you've had a bad day, when you feel rejected, overwhelmed, discouraged, or just emotionally triggered. And those are precisely the moments when willpower is least available. Neuroscience explains why. When you're stressed, your brain shifts control away from the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for planning, reasoning, and long-term thinking, and hands the wheel over to older survival systems. This makes sense. They're already tried and tested. They kind of work, depending on the measure that you're using. That's why under pressure, you don't rise to your goals. You fall back to your patterns. So when people say, I just need more discipline, what they're actually saying is, I plan to rely on my weakest psychological resource during my hardest moments. Think about that. You have set yourself up to rely on the weakest psychological resource that you have during the hardest moments that you can experience. Just think about that. Think about what that means, because that's not bravery. That's bad strategy. Now, I'll feed it within me, this like finger pointing, telling off sort of emotion. And I don't mean it to come across like that. But sometimes we have to work out what it is that we need to accept before we can change it. Because if we don't accept certain things that are true, then we don't have any right trying to change it, because we are just still living in that delusion. So we have to accept what we have done. And that is, we have chosen discipline, willpower, as the greatest resource that we can use towards something that's really important to us, that is going to bring up difficult moments, difficult and tempting moments of weakness, whatever you want to call it, and that is probably not going to work. And this is where most New Year's resolutions die, because they're built on motivational spikes, not structural support. So what's the big idea? Your environment beats your intentions. That's it. This is the core message of this book. Willpower doesn't work. That's the core message of this book. Your environment shapes your behavior far more than your intentions ever will. If we can just grasp that statement, if we can just really spend some time to understand that, then everything you do next will make more sense to you, because your environment shapes your behavior far more than your intentions. We love to think behavior is a matter of choice, but psychology shows us it's far more often a matter of design. Hardy argues that the most successful people do not rely on willpower. They engineer their environment so the right behavior becomes the default behavior. Kind of got no choice at this point. They remove friction from good habits. They add friction to bad ones. This also echoes another book, which I've got right here too, which is Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's another really good book. And again, don't think there's a book out there that's the one size fits all, because that hasn't been written yet. Well, it has been, but it's just not out. yet. But you can take lots of really helpful things from all of these books and you can use what works for you. You can try stuff, and if it doesn't work, then it's just the wrong tool. And that's okay, because James Clear says in his book, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Because Willpower asks, can I resist this every day? Think about that. Can I resist this thing I absolutely love? And the reason I know I love it is because I do it all the time. And when I do it, it gives me that feeling, that emotion that I'll enjoy. So can I resist this every day? Because people think that they're giving up smoking. That they're not. They're giving up the feeling that smoking gives them. And that's a big thing. They're not giving up cake. They're giving up the feeling cake gives them. They're not giving up alcohol. They're giving up the feeling alcohol gives them. It's all about our emotions, always. See, Willpower asks, can I resist this every day? Where the environment asks, why is this even here in the first place? Such a different question, because one leads to burnout, the other leads to consistency. I probably would be doing this whole podcast a disservice if I didn't talk about the power and the necessity for identity. There's another layer here that really matters deeply, and that is identity. Most New Year's resolutions are framed as outcomes. So lose 10 pounds, make more money, be more confident, stop procrastinating. But behavior doesn't change sustainably at the outcome level. It changes at the identity level. Hardy talks about the importance of future self-identity. Who are you becoming, not just what you're trying to do? If your identity is, I'm someone who struggles with discipline, then every slip reinforces that story. But if your identity becomes, I'm someone who designs my life to support my values, now behavior change isn't about force, it's about alignment. Psychologically, this matters because humans strive for self-consistency. We don't act in ways that contradict who we believe we are, at least not for very long. So the question isn't, how do I try harder? It's, who does this behavior belong to? So, filled your head with lots of stuff and you're like, Johnny, you shook my head up like a snow globe. Now I don't know what the hell to do. So discipline doesn't work. Brilliant. So I can't use that. So what do I do now? I know I just won't bother. Don't do that. Stick with me, because I'm going to try and bring this all together. If willpower doesn't work, then what does? 3 things consistently supported by psychology. 1, environment design. 2, identity alignment. 3, small, repeatable systems. Not intensity, not motivation, not self-punishment. Real change happens when the environment supports the behavior reinforces identity, and the system runs even on bad days. It's not dependent on you being in a good mood, well-fed, and really happy. This is why people who suddenly changed their life often didn't suddenly become disciplined. They changed where they spent time, who they spent time with, what was visible, available, and normal in their everyday lives. Then their behavior just followed that. I want to give you something practical, because that's what this podcast is about. It's not about just filling your head full of knowledge. It's about giving you something that you can take away and practice. Practice. That's the word, because practice removes the pressure of perfection. So I want to give you something practical, something you can do without hype, pressure, or perfection. That's really important to me. So here it is. The 3-step anti-willpower reset. I love it when they come up with these names. They're always rubbish. So step 1, pick one identity, not 10 goals. Instead of listing resolutions, answer this question. Just answer this. This year, I am becoming someone who. This year, I am becoming someone who. So not 10 things, 1. Examples. Someone who respects their energy. Someone who follows through on small promises. Someone who designs their environment intentionally. This can become your compass to point you in the direction of what you should do next, meaning that everything else that this is not pointing at is not for you. Makes choices easy. Step 2, design one environment change. So ask yourself, what is one change I can make so the right behavior happens with less effort? Examples are one that I've used. Put your gym clothes next to your bed. That was a game changer, because getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whatever the time is, trying to find your gym kit definitely means it's not going to happen. It's just not. It's going to wake up and go, nah, not doing that. Remove apps from your phone. Change where you work. Change who you spend Monday evenings with, wherever that may entail. Change what's visible in your home. If it still requires willpower, the design isn't finished. Step 3, lower the bar until it's impossible to fail. This is crucial, absolutely crucial. Your new behavior should feel almost too easy, slightly boring, and embarrassingly small. Many times I've heard it said that the people that become successful are the ones that can withstand the boredom. Because really and honestly, I've been so lucky in life to have worked with many successful people. And one thing I hear them say in different variations is success is boring. Very often it's about repeating the same things over and over again until you become so good at them and effortless at them that people start to admire that, and it starts to become something that pays you back. So that new behavior should feel almost too easy, slightly boring, and embarrassingly small, because consistency beats intensity every single time. 5 minutes, 1 page, 1 walk, 1 honest conversation. Identity is built through evidence, not intention. I think it would be a disservice to the whole willpower thing if I didn't just touch upon the emotions of change, because real change comes from exposure. And very often the thing that we want to change in our life is attached to a whole set of emotions that we do not enjoy being exposed to. So it becomes about emotional sensitivity. For some people, that's boredom. For some people, that's fear of missing out. For some people, it's chasing a feeling, whatever it is. But it's an emotion. It's a powerful emotion that feels like a demand, and it compels you. It compels you, or at least it feels like it compels you to do the thing that you're trying not to do. It becomes an obsession, an absolute obsession. It feels like I've got no choice and that life isn't the same, or life is a struggle without this thing in my life, whether it be watching too much television, smoking, drinking, eating too much food, whatever it is going on in your life, writing a book, whatever it is that's going on in your life that you are finding difficult for whatever reason, it's very often not the thing. It's the emotions attached to the thing. Even if it's exercise, people go, well, exercise is too hard. In the beginning, it shouldn't be that difficult. You should feel it. But sometimes I remember when I was a PT, quite often if someone was like really overweight and really unfit and was really struggling with the whole idea of it, we'd just walk. We'd just walk and talk. And then after a little while, their mindset would start to improve, their fitness would start to improve, and they'd do a little bit more and a little bit more. And before you know it, they're in the gym doing stuff. And it kind of works that way. If it's too hard in the beginning, then you've set the bar too high, and that's okay. Again, it's like that ladder and the different rungs. The distance between the rungs is important because you might not be able to reach the next step. So you have to make them manageable if you can. So let me leave you with this. The fact that you care enough to try again isn't a weakness. It's proof that something in you wants alignment. So this year, stop asking, how do I try harder? And start asking, how do I make this easier to live? Design over discipline, environment over effort, identity over intention. You don't need more willpower. You need a life that supports who you are becoming. And that is something you can actually build. You're the only one that can. And of course, if you need help with that, listen, there's never been a better time to jump on the self-made course. It deals with all of this stuff. It takes you through my made model, morals, ambitions, drivers, environments. These are all areas of your life that if you look into, I'm going to say it, I promise you that you cannot not change. You have to change because quite a lot of our existence is about ignoring our emotions. And people say, okay, well, I listen to my emotions and they say this. And I say, okay, is that true? Or is that what you want to be true? Because here's the thing, we can't analyze our emotions without truth. Because quite often we'll say we're angry because somebody spoke to us badly at work. No, you're not angry because of that. You're angry because you let them do that. That's what's angering you. You don't like what that must mean about yourself if you've let that person talk to you like that. Yeah, you might not like the words they said, but why is it bothering you so much? Why are you revisiting it all the time in your head saying, I should have done this, I wish I'd done that, maybe I could have done this, maybe I should still do this, maybe I should write a letter, maybe I should do an email, whatever it is. And you're obsessing over it because you're angry at yourself. And the great thing about that is not that you then go, oh, it must mean I'm a loser or I'm this or I'm that. It means, great, if I'm angry at myself, then it's something in me I can change. Cool. Now you're giving yourself accountability, responsibility, and influence. Let's call it influence. So the self-made course helps with all of that. It helps you understand your emotions. It helps you understand other people's emotions. They call that emotional intelligence. It helps you understand who you are, what you want. It helps you understand what drives you so that on them days when you're not feeling so motivated, you can dip into that and you can find it and you can get through that day. And then lastly, the stuff I'm talking about today helps you set your environment up to become the person you want to become in the future, not the person that you're trying to change. Because our behaviours that we have now got us where we are and they're always going to take us back here. So we need to change those behaviours. And it starts by learning who you are. And that's where the self-made course comes in. It's a guide to help you figure out who you are. You do all the work. It might be the hardest thing you've ever done, but it will be worth it. Because after that, everything that you do translates beautifully because you're totally in alignment with who you are. Anyway, this has been great. It's been really lovely to spend this time with you. I hope that you've got something from it, and I look forward to seeing you next week for another episode of the Johnny Lawrence Podcast.